Welcome to another episode of Black Belts and Boardrooms. I am Amir Khawaja alongside my fantastic co-host, Renard Henry. And this is a show where we sit down with leaders who have earned their stripes through discipline, hard work, and a commitment to never quitting. And their stories will challenge you on how you lead, how you think, and who you're becoming. You know, Renard, before I even say who's with us today, you and I both sit in rooms where somebody drops AI like a mic. Maybe I can use that musical reference. And everybody just says, yup, AI everything. AI ops, AI DevOps, AI whatever. But when that happens in the rooms that you're in, who's governing the thing?
Man, people are freaking out for the most part. You think it's supposed to be your cybersecurity team, etc., infosec, IT, who's supposed to be governing, but who should really be governing AI governance? That's a great question. I'm looking forward to us finding out.
Yeah. So hold that thought, because the gap between asking real questions and just performing the buzzword is this whole episode. So let's introduce our guests. So the fastest way to look out of your depth in any boardroom is to fumble the budget numbers. That used to be the case, but today, if you do the architect salute, wave your hands at AI, and hope nobody follows up, that's kind of the world we live in today. And the tools have moved really fast. Everywhere you look, there's all kinds of tools showing up in the marketplace, and many of them probably won't survive. But what will survive likely is going to be the vocabulary for governance of these tools. And leaders who are sitting in that seat where they are making AI related decisions today, that kind of language, I believe, is going to project careers forward, or at least support leaders who are looking to build AI in a way that is building trust within the organizations. And my guest today has spent the last 25 years turning that instinct into actual discipline. And I would love to introduce Dr. Kimberly KJ Haywood, who is a cybersecurity and AI governance leader and founder of the Nomad Cyber Concepts, a global governance and education advisor. Dr. KJ, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I said a lot there, but I think that the gist of it is that you are somebody who forces everybody to ask questions in the best possible way. Why don't we start there? How do you think about AI governance and the many hats that people are trying to manage today in the organization?
Let's start with where you started. I'm just want to take a step back because this podcast is about black belts and boardrooms, right? So at the end of the day, the board has a fiduciary responsibility to ensure the protection of their own organization that they're a part of, that so they also have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure R&D, right? They have a responsibility to ensure that that they're situated properly in the marketplace so that they can continue to generate revenue. So they have that and a long host of responsibilities. Thus, the board is also responsible for security. The board, at the end of the day, can be removed based upon incidents or decision makings that they make. They can lose their seat. They can be indicted. So that board role at the beginning is a very serious role, and many organizations, the idea is I'm a board member of, or I'm a leader, and I don't have that level of responsibility. So my responsibility is kind of oversight. But the deeper aspect of is, are they even educating themselves? Because they're getting fished right now using AI tools every single day, especially with them being in the roles that they're in. They're high visible, they're high profiles. I mean, on the back end, people are looking at what they do and who they are. So being unaware of that and utilizing tools and driving the organizations to do security and all of that, the first thing I'm a big proponent on is literacy. And our boards, which is one of the reasons why I wrote the book, to make it simplified, that the boards also need to have an arsenal of knowledge before they start making decisions about how they're going to purchase, develop AI tools within their own environment.
You've touched on several points, so I wanna come to your literacy point real quick. So your book gives the literacy component, or does it also give something more to a board member?
It gives them so much more. That's why I love it. I am proud of that work. And Amir, it took me 2 years to write that book. And one of the reasons why I'm proud of the book is because of the individuals who contributed to the book are subject matter experts in their respective domains, be it cyber, be it legal, compliance, and across the board. So I was able to be fortunate enough to work with a number of thought leaders and ask them serious questions about what have they been doing in terms of their career paths, and asking them questions to kind of gauge, because governance itself, when the beginning of the book, it didn't exist in the marketplace even as a term, and people kept saying, why are you writing about a subject that nobody knows what you're talking about? I said, because it's coming. And I'm a data analyst by trade, meaning that I see patterns. I started my career in data analytics when I was in college. So I see things a little bit different than the average person, and I know I'm a little geek. So getting back to your question, I think from the lens of seeing governance from a different perspective, that literacy component of this particular book captures a little bit of everything. It's got cyber, it's got privacy, it's got legal, it's got a global perspective as well, and what the global market is shifting. And it's an easy read. And it's, for me, because I'm a true geek. I love referencing. I love Formula One. So I reference things from, how, cars and racing. And so I have all these analogies in there that are relatable analogies, regardless if the book is, read in the US or outside the US. And the French version just was launched 2 weeks ago. So I'm super excited about that. And I don't speak French, just un poquito, so just a little bit. But I'm mentioning that to say that the book is easy to read. It's very comprehensive, and it's kind of packed with separating out. If I'm a board member, I'm going to turn to page and chapter, right? And I'm going to earmark some of this so that I can go back to my team and go, are we doing any of this? Right? Have we even considered this? Or if you're just an enterprise practitioner, you're in cybersecurity and you want to talk to your CISO or your CTO, and you're like, hey, I read this book on AI governance, and it doesn't talk about a strategic framework. It talks about all these different frameworks. It's not one framework. Did you know that? Right? So I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox. I don't like the concept of boxing governance into one framework. And I'm a big proponent on not doing that.
I couldn't agree with you more, but before I continue, I will be remiss if I don't ask you to name your book, please.
Here we go again, except as AI. Here we go again, except as AI. Yeah, I don't know if anyone can see it, but I can grab it.
Yeah.
But here we go again, except as AI. And basically the idea of the book, again, is just from analysis to action. So it's actionable things. It's not a guide. It's really a good, strong read to give people some general insights of governance that they can apply.
Yeah. So now I can ask my questions. So I want to go back to the dot-com boom days, if you recall.
Yes.
The mid 90s, it was, everybody was learning about what this internet is, and the 3 letters at the end of that dot, COM, were all the rage, if you recall. And the cycles of that boom were fast and furious, nowhere near the pace of what we see today with AI. And if I, look back and think about the inflection point, it really comes down to ChatGPT almost 3 years ago. And with that inflection point comes panic, comes uncertainty, fear, doubts, and not just at the level of the practitioner, but also all the way up to the board level, which is the point of your book and the layers that you're describing in your book. Help us understand a little bit or appreciate a little bit more. Today, for example, I'm in the operational world, and governance is a big deal because I can't just introduce AI without making sure there's a certain level of certainty that comes along with every operation performed in production. Otherwise, there's real customer harm or business impact. Help us build an appreciation for cybersecurity professionals or legal professionals, and how does that dance happen between those different disciplines, and how you see them finding the right kind of balance in governance?
Well, first of all, AI governance is a separate domain than GRC. The GRC cyber, for the audience sake, governance, risk, and compliance falls under the umbrella of cybersecurity. And so back in the .com days, which is where my career began, is in the .coms. So for me, and one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing is because of that error, because of what I saw in that error. I said, how can I be of support and help, not just on a national level, on a global level, to educate and to provide a direct service to particularly the middle market where all the development and innovation is happening, right? It's really immersed kind of in the middle market. Our managed service providers are coming up with these great ideas. We have these new companies. So to merge that, the combination and the intersection between legal, compliance, the compliance teams, and security, as well as product development, all of those all those entities, HR included, are a part of the actually what we call crawl, walk, run process. You must, and RunTrust has been saying that for many years, long before I came out writing op-ed pieces, publishing things. They've been saying this. IBM has been saying this behind the scenes because they had Watson, right? They did the testing with Watson. Well, during that process, because it's IBM, they understood security because they were ahead in their marketplace, right? So they adopted security assurance, they called it, practices. But what's unique about this industry of AI governance is that it requires an intersection, Amir, between legal, compliance, security, product development, marketing. It has to, because of what you said, AI touches every area of the business, not just operations, not just the security and the product development team, not the DBA teams, it touches every aspect because we've got shadow AI running rampant in many organizations. And we had that back in the day with security lens. What are our goals and objectives as an enterprise? And who do we need to bring in as a collective unit to really address and walk ourselves through operationalizing AI governance best practices? And what do they look like? So, it starts where in your team, but it also is a responsibility for other team members to be a part of that collective. That's a OneTrust adoption that they're recommending.
It feels like, so what you're describing is a brand new field, brand new discipline. And I think there's a lot of people who perhaps might feel behind or maybe not well equipped to handle it. What do you say to somebody who feels like they're behind or doesn't really have familiarity, but truly does want to do a great job in this area?
I'm glad that you asked that because I need to level set with your audience. Everyone, regardless if they have a cell phone, I don't care if they're literally living in Timbuktu, which is literally a country, you guys. So it doesn't matter where they are, even in a global perspective. If they have a cell phone, they have a device that has machine learning built into that device, period. AI has been around for many, many, many decades, over 50 years. And so at this term, when they go and get assessed, if they haven't noticed that the doctors aren't writing on notepads anymore, they're writing on devices. And if they haven't noticed that even when they're driving certain cars, again, autonomous vehicles or vehicles when you're buying cars, your vehicle itself is an AI. It's a machine learning model designed and developed to ensure that it's capturing analytics and algorithms, and it's learning as it goes, learning your rhythm of driving. So we've already been in it, everyone. We've been using it, and we've been using it for decades. So the concept of this whole emergence of GPT, which is under the umbrella of artificial intelligence, machine learning, AGI, and everything else that falls under that, and robotics and quantum and all of that. So I would say that to the audience, you've already been adopting it. You've already been utilizing it. And every time your phone gets an update and every time you buy a new vehicle, you're already immersed in that level of technology and innovation now. So now you're turning the page and going, now I need a new job because my job has been refined or repurposed. Okay, well then go and get yourself retooled and refined, just like you take your car in, for repairs. It needs to be refined and it needs to be tuned up. I think this is an opportunity that we're living in where it's forcing people to, if you don't want to go back and get education, at least understand prompting. Because I was telling someone on a radio show the other day, I said, prompting is simple as what you were telling your children, telling your subordinates, people that you talk to, you're prompting them. If you're giving them instructions to do something, you sometimes have to word it. It's just that simple because artificial intelligence, the concept of that data is us. We're the ones that's feeding that data. It's our thoughts, our ideas. So this is nothing new. You've done this before. You're probably driving a car now that has more AI than probably your cell phone. So built into it. So there's nothing new. Retool, reskill, take advantage of the free courses that are out there. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old and I went back. I wasn't planning on doing this. All of us on this call, we're over 40. So I'm sorry, Amir. I don't know if you are because you look so great.
Yeah.
You look great.
I'm closer to 50 than I am closer to 40.
So you look great. I was like, I'm not sure. All right. Let me wind it back. So I think we have an opportunity now to do something uniquely different than back in the day with the skill sets that had to shift with cyber. That was a different time. Now it's everybody can get in the game. I think the playing field is a lot easier in this game than it was with cybersecurity emerging.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody gets a chance to retool in a sense and continuously improve, like you said, from .com and now, like you said, AI has been around. It's just been different names for it, but technically it's been around for a long time. So from your standpoint, you talk about the board, you're talking about from cybersecurity, but from a lens of a company, maybe a startup or maybe a small or medium size. How do they cover AI governance from them? They don't have the money to have these
That's right.
big teams. So what do they do in order to make sure that their companies or et cetera are safe for the most part?
I get that question all the time. So just a small correction, Amir. AI Connect, I'm on their board as their education advisor, and they're here based in Dallas, Fort Worth, received a number of different awards around AI and education. And so I sit on their board. And then Nomad Cyber Concepts is my company, which is an AI governance advisory firm. We sit in the middle market. And so to answer your question, Renard, one of the things that we started thinking about is we're going after the middle market. Told you guys what my passion is. I want to see these organizations thrive and not die out, which is what I saw back in .com. Mismanagement of funding, even after they got it, great innovation, great ideas, but they just blew it, right? And they no longer exist, or they were gobbled up. So what I'm seeing in this market is for the small businesses, they have an opportunity again to take advantage of some of the tools, but with caution that they ask, and they can literally use GPT tools, and it will tell them, because it's pulling in old data and best practices of security. I have a new payroll thing. I want to use this new tool. It's AI, it's comprehensive. I don't have the funding any longer to pay a payroll service. So I want to bring it in-house. But asking the right questions is the key with small businesses. Utilizing the tools that ask it questions about security and governance. It may not have all the details about AI governance, but it'll have some best practices that it can give them, some baseline. These are some steps that I would ask. These are things that I would recommend. Put the tool in. Give me the name of the company. It'll research that for you. The other aspect is policies and procedures for small businesses is a great start, because then that's a part of governing, and they can adopt that even if it's one or two people. And as they're growing and scaling, they can say, hey, now we need to update that policy and procedure, practical use, procurement. How are we bringing in? What are we doing? Are we assessing properly? And they're standing up their own small little ecosystem of a governance process. It doesn't take a lot of money to do that. But what it does take is thought and good decision making to say, take a pause. You're doing 1,000 different things, small business owner. You got to take a pause and say, are we protecting our intellectual property, our secret sauce, if it's some hot wings, because I love hot wings. So if you're protecting your secret sauce, then make sure that you're asking vendors the right questions too. So even as a small firm, we have vendors, we have partners, but we also have to be very strategic about who our partners are, and we also have to vet them as well. So it's the same process with our mom and pops out there.
And that lends me to another question. And you're talking about what they should do, but from your lens, what are they not asking? That's what I'm curious about. What are they not asking you that you think like they should be asking these particular questions?
How long has the company been in business that I am going to purchase this product from? Is because if the product is from my cousin, my nephew or niece or whomever, and they built some really cool tool and they want to play with it and use your business as a sandbox, that can be very dangerous. So let's start that basic question, Renard. I know it sounds elementary, but it isn't. How long has the company been in business? Do they have any use cases that they can say, we have actually tested our product in the marketplace, and these are the companies that we have that we can actually identify and say, yes, we've done X, Y, and Z. We've tested it. We've got all the glitches out. It's not perfect, but for your type of enterprise, this is what we can promise you. Being transparent is number one by asking just that question and other questions like, hey, I'm, what do I call it? McDonald's, right? I'm under a franchise and the franchise has me covered in certain areas, but there are things that I can do as a franchise owner to also bring in some additional technology for my team, whether it even be training, just internally, whatever it may be, but asking the question of, okay, so is this secure? Because we've got intellectual property and there are things that our employees have to sign NDAs and contracts. We need to have you sign something. You don't just start talking to them about that, right? So going back to that question, do they have an agreement? Do they have they're just going to talk to us and give us their product and there's no agreement exchanged? Basic questions like that, business owners, smaller business owners don't think about the legalities and the risk that they're taking if they're just bringing an organization in and saying, okay, yeah, we like that really cool tool. You did a great presentation. It was colorful. It was beautiful. It had all the bells and whistles, and it even moved while it was, when you were presenting it, and, it had animation and we were so excited. Okay, yeah, we want that. And that's it. Let's sign the deal. But the baseline questions about, am I protecting my secret sauce? Am I protecting my my enterprise or my business? Am I thinking about the legalities if this turns into a lawsuit and it does something inappropriate while it's running, on within my enterprise? So questions of risk, being risk adverse, small business owners, that's an Achilles heel for many of them.
No, I like that. You hit on some good points, and I say a lot of times, hey, do you have an NDA with said vendor, et cetera? Have you had those conversations before you start having the bigger conversation? I don't think anything's wrong with the initial, you having a generalized conversation, but once you start getting into, like you say, your secret sauce, an NDA needs to be in place.
Yeah.
And that has to be in place. And you're right, a lot of smaller businesses don't think about that because they're like, man, it looks great. Let's just get that in, et cetera. They're going to take care of us, et cetera. Like, you have to really take it, like you say, take a pause,
Yeah.
have a real conversation, and then make the best decision you can for the business. So I actually, since I'm kind of curious, we talk about the question they don't ask. What about the business who decided, hey, we skipped that NDA, we brought everything in? What conversation do you have with the business who's already behind the gun, in a sense? What's that conversation going to be?
Well, we typically from enterprises saying, hey, I want to bring you guys in. We're a small business, right? Number one, our target market are not small business owners, like under 100 employees, maybe 98, 95, but, under that threshold, because AI governance, like I said, is very comprehensive. But what we can do for them is that we can offer them, let's take a look at your contract. That's number one. What did you sign in that agreement? Because our advisors come from a breadth of different layers of domains and experiences. Let's look at their contract. What did they sign? What did they do? Not that we're going to be illegal for them, but we can at least see what services that were originally offered from you. What level of technology was stood up, for that enterprise, and did it clearly didn't meet their expectations? Was there any testing? What amount of data, was pulled from their enterprise? And was it a situation where it was an organization that came in that you purchased and they were testing out, again, using your company, your small business as a sandbox and testing their tool as your sandbox and taking advantage of you? So because they're gathering data from you and you're thinking, oh, it's okay, right? Because I have a signed document. So we have to do a deeper dive assessment and look at those areas for them. And also, kind of go, okay, so who made the decision on this? How much money did you spend on this? How old is the company? Asking all those kind of deep dive questions to give them a surface level of, wow, okay, these are things I probably should have been thinking about. I should have looked at in the beginning. So what's your governance? Do you have a process? Because the reason why you're calling us is because someone in your enterprise used the solution, but you didn't know that they were doing certain things with the tool. So you didn't even have a process to provide oversight to that. And now you can't go back from a legality perspective and go, now let me, hey, Mr. So-so, we need to let you go. We've discovered X, Y, and Z, and these are the things, but you don't have anything to even govern that, your people's use of a tool or a product. And mom and pops are using tools like Perplexity and Claude, and they are so proud. They are so proud. And I think, honestly, it's a good thing that they're stepping outside of their comfort zone. But I'm glad that you're asking the questions that you're asking, Renard and Amir, because they're not thinking about beyond the really cool things that it does, the risk that lies behind how much information they're feeding it.
I agree with that. I look at it from a lens of, and of course, we're all three of us are tech savvy for for very good. We work in tech on a regular basis, but I think you got to look at it from a business who are really not tech savvy. Like, I know what to do for my company, but not really the back end of it. A lot of people are using free versions of everything, ChatGPT, Claude, etc. And you're right, feeding it all this information to be like, man, look at all the great stuff I'm getting from it. We can do all this stuff, but they don't understand the back end of, if you don't have these, or you're not having these discussions with Anthropic, if you can, etc., and have these in place, your stuff goes out to the public. You're feeding the beast, that I like to say, for it to understand more. So I
Yep,
agree
and then
that,
everybody else gets to read that
yeah.
and go, oh, that's what that
Well,
secret sauce was. Okay, I'm going to open up me a hot wing place too. It's like, okay, I was
yeah.
waiting for that secret sauce.
Yeah. I think some of the key words I listen to: protect your baby for the most part.
Mhm.
You want to protect that for the long, not the short term. So AI has just been moved so fast in this short a time.
Yeah.
People are just like, man, we got to get a hold of this as fast as we can, and not understand there's so much more that needs to go into it from an AI governance standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all, the three of us know this, right? But it's about education on this platform and going to the board level. And truthfully, we talk about literacy. It's not fair to say they should know. So I want to start there, because how are they supposed to know about something that's not necessarily within their professional domain or wheelhouse? How are they supposed to know? And I say that even with IT professionals. And people are upset in enterprises that the security team doesn't know enough about generative AI. Well, because the security team didn't build generative AI models, and the security team was never involved in that area of that area of domain of expertise. So how is a security team supposed to all of a sudden overnight know the difference between an AGI and robotics that has quantum built into the programming to one that is a GPT tool? How are they supposed to know? What's neural networking? Well, no, I was focused on engineering. My job is to secure the environment from a network perspective, front end, back end, not to understand how models are built and designed. So it's a lot of onus that's being unfairly being placed on different areas and practitioners within organizations that are saying, I don't know. And they might be saying it to their friends, not necessarily to their colleagues, but I don't know. And I'm telling everyone on a global scale, it's okay not to know, but it's not okay to stay in that I don't know. Don't stay there. Get out of that and learn as much as you possibly can so you can make better decisions as a security practitioner and utilize the standards that are out there for you, e.g. OWASP, right? AI. So utilize the tools that are out there for you because they've done the homework for you, but don't stay in the I don't know. It's okay not to know, but that's just my thinking on that. Yeah.
Dr. KJ, I love how you framed it. It's not the technology, it's the people or the person. And I want to push on that just a little bit more to get your perspective. How far should the practitioner or the leader go in the learning? So I can understand you don't have to be a programmer, or everybody doesn't have to become a programmer, or everybody doesn't have to become an expert in designing their own models. But how far would you say is a good sort of general rule of thumb that we should be thinking about?
I really love that question, Amir. Wow.
Thank you.
It is truly one of the best questions I've had in a long time. Thank you. So, I, my recommendation is if you are, let's take boards, right? Let's start with boards. If you're a board member, MIT specifically, Stanford, Dartmouth, UT Austin, a number of different organizations, throughout the country, universities have specific AI business certifications for that level, where they're talking to subject matter experts in their specific domains that are operating at a board level and managing companies oversight, right? So they're speaking to the audience that specifically is designed for, which is leadership at an executive leadership level. So taking advantage of those opportunities, and the price points are typically reasonable depending upon what school you go to, right? But my point is, they're specifically been designed 3 years ago. They started coming out with this specifically to focus on leadership who makes the decision. My background is with MIT. Now, I took AI machine learning no code specifically because I am not a data scientist. However, I mean, I didn't know it was going to be a lot of computational analysis and quantum computing and physics, and I did not know. I don't even know how I passed, but I guess that young me came back. I don't know. But my point is that there are universities out there right now that offer that. They've been offering that particularly to focus, hyper-focus, strategically focus on the leadership, knowing that they're going to be the ones that are trickling down the decision making. So let's educate them in this space here at this level so that they can get retooled and understanding how machine learning actually works. What is the difference between a GPT Microsoft tool and a Gemini tool who has multiple neural networks? What is a neural network, right? So understanding the difference. And so when they're making decisions at that level and guiding and directing their organization, that they have a better idea of, you know what, we didn't ask the right questions. Because all of those universities who stood up, they all integrate governance and security, because AI, there is an actual AI life cycle, Amir. And most people don't realize, as a developer, even those who are coding now for machine learning, there is a strategic AI life cycle that incorporates governance and security. And MIT, who've been designing in the forefront, Dartmouth in the forefront, right? IBM as well. They've been using and adopting. So the best tools out there are incorporating those aspects and those elements. So going back to whoever else below that, basic. What is the difference between AGI, right, and robotics? I need to know. Baseline understanding, 101. What is AI? What is the best way to use AI? There are tools and out there for our security practitioners. There's actual courses out there, and now there's certifications under ISACA for security professionals. For privacy professionals, they have IAPP, which is great because they have the AI GPA. I should know that because I helped write the practice exam. So for privacy professionals, for security practitioners, for general public, AWS, Amazon, all of them are coming out, and all the other security platforms are coming out with general. So I say just start with the baseline, where you are in your particular practice, where you are in your particular domain, and don't try to know like everything. It doesn't make any sense. If you got the basics in a general for the decisions and the type of work you do, you're good to go. I'm in governance, guys, in compliance. Who goes and learns how to do machine coding and learn? I didn't know that I was doing that because I was supposed to stop after 8 weeks. It was a 16-week course and I kept going. But my point is, now that I understand it, now I understand the difference between a random forest, in terms of a methodology and approach to build a model. What is a random forest, right? So I understand that now. So when I talk to potential customers or clients or educate, like we're doing here, I can explain to them, oh no, that's this. That's what this model is designed for. That's what this model is designed for. This is how we govern that, right? As enterprise leaders.
That is a very good way to frame it. I'm thinking about myself as a leader for a moment, and AI can do a lot of the analysis for me very quickly. So to be able to then get into the more strategic thinking, that's the value add that I can provide to an organization. How do I take that compounded knowledge that I've gained over the years, and how do I bring that forward in a way that can be quickly consumed and operationalized? And I think that's the message you're communicating, is that as a leader, if you understand the information in these courses such as MIT and Dartmouth, you get that baseline foundation and vocabulary to help you perform better.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I would want our leaders to take those courses. They can afford it. They really can. Let's be honest. Okay. They truly can. They can afford the courses. This is just a certification, and it's just taking the time to educate themselves so they can be even better investors, better decision making. They want to make more money. You have to understand what it is that you're investing in, because as we all know, the three of us on this call, .coms bust, didn't they? They bust. You imagine how many billions of dollars were spent with, individual investors out there investing in this, investing in that, investing in this. Gone. Money is gone. So be a smart investor and learn what you're investing in and understand what it is that I'm investing in. And are you actually doing all the actual processes to build this tool and model so it's safe and it doesn't harm a child, or it doesn't get into our food supply or our water supply because someone purchased it and I gave you money towards it and now they're using it in the utilities. So, be a smart investor.
What are you seeing from the lens of a student around AI governance compared to, say, your seasoned executive? What difference are you seeing now that you see you're teaching from that side? What's the difference for you?
Well, we know between healthcare and education, Renard, Amir, it's a little slower. It moves a little slower. When ChatGPT kind of emerged 3 years ago, I'm teaching and I'm in the classroom. And I asked the students first day, how many of you using ChatGPT? Because ChatGPT was a thing, right? Jim and I was still kind of working on their beta. And so I said, it was 2 hands that went up. That was 3 years ago. If I were to ask that same question this coming fall with my students, I guarantee you it's going to be everybody, right? That's going to say, no, I know what I use. Now, with that said, one of the things that's still lacking is that security component of protecting their own IP, intellectual property. That is still lacking. And we're talking about students that are also in the age of social media, who don't even think about security settings on their own social media platforms, not realizing that there are policies that update on those platforms and you can adjust the security settings yourself. Same with ChatGPT. So I think there's still that lack of knowledge, that gap. And honestly, again, out of fairness to everybody, this is only 3 years young. It's a baby. It's still on tricycles. So I never expected my child to go get a job after 3 years. I would have liked it because he was causing me so much angst and anxiety, but he's 3 years old. He just learned how to walk, and now he's all over the place. And now he's using words and he's talking back and he's got this whole personality. And that's what we have. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a 3-year-old child. And I mean, ChatGPT that's been launched out to the world that still is learning. It's still learning. I'm talking Microsoft's product first. So it's still trying to figure itself out in all of this minutia of this personality. Amir doesn't prompt like Renard. Renard doesn't prompt like Dr. KJ. Wait a minute, I need to readjust, So out of fairness, the students are learning at same time. Like I said, we're all in the same playing field. The students are learning at the same time as their parents who are professionals, some, right? Some parents who are blue collar, who are using it as well. And using it in their, like you said, their individual businesses. So we're on the same playing field. Our students are interested in cybersecurity because it paid a lot of money. I teach under cyber security. Why are you here? Because it teaches a lot of money. Then you need to go. Because if you're not interested in protecting and securing the environments, then you're in the wrong class. Because this class is about protecting and securing and, the environments and the people who work and the customers. So the same with AI, that concept is going to come out. But right now I need to use it to make my papers look good so that I can get that A to get to the next class or the next class. And universities and colleges some are shutting down completely and being not smart about innovation. And then there are others are saying, let's loosen the reins a little bit and allow them to learn, but put some guardrails and parameters around that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. No, it does. You talk about the different universities. What happens and we're just talking generalized and AI, and it's moving so fast. Like you say, it's still a 3-year-old, trying to walk. But what happens to education because of AI?
Education is shifting. It's shifting just as fast as governance policies and regulations. Everything is moving at a faster pace. This whole GPT emergence thing, and I say GPT because, Amir, that's pretty much what people are thinking GPT, right? This whole emergence is forcing municipalities and universities to move faster, which is at the board level. The boards are having to make decisions to move faster, to adopt faster. If they want to stay in the game as a university and not find themselves out of the game in 2050, then they have to adopt as a board to make faster decisions on curriculum enhancement. They have no choice. Or same with regulators. If you want to beat that city and get that federal money so that you can do what you have to do, you want to beat, because this is all about competition, right? Being the best in the marketplace. If you want to beat them, the best way to do that is making sure that my city council, who has to make the decisions, they're like, come on, give them as much information they need so they can hurry up and make that decision. So regulation, even at the federal level, is moving faster. At the state levels across the U.S. is moving faster. So our boards from a federal, state, local level, they have no choice. In order to keep up with technology and also compete with that next city and that next university, they have to begin saying, we need to do better. We need to move faster. We cannot have our head in the sand anymore because they literally will lose funding and they'll lose students.
I want to ask one more question, and this is a topic that always comes up. Should AI governance and cybersecurity be separate, or should it be one department that does both?
I want you to ask the question again.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the question.
And I'm doing that on purpose. I want you to ask that question One more time.
Should AI governance be separate or should it be merged into cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity and governance took us 20 years to get cyber and governance under one team. It took us 20 years to get there. And I remember before I came into governance that you over there, you over here. You know, they didn't want to talk to us, right? And they're like, oh, you guys are audit people. No, we're not. We're internal. We work for you guys. We're on the same team. And it took a long time. And remember back 10 years ago, if you guys went to cybersecurity conferences, they didn't even have governance on the platform of the topics. It's like you couldn't, and I'm talking black hat as well. No one had talked about governance. Governance was its own little stepchild all by itself. And now what are we saying? So to answer your question, I think the entire industry on a national level is starting to realize over the last 10 years, particularly, that we cannot have one without the other. There are cybersecurity professionals that, because we had a new generation that came in, and so the cybersecurity professional and the practice now on a national scale, they can't see doing one without the other. They're so integrated. So AI governance falls within the governance domain. Now, to go back to that question, should there be a chief AI governance or chief AI officer? Yes. Should you separate AI governance from the typical practice of GRC? Yes, you should, because they're two separate frameworks, controls that are required under both. So they have to be separated, right? They have to be. So I'm a big fan of opera and not opera. Well, I love opera too, but a big fan of classical music. And so I'm like, you guys be the strings, you be the drums, right? And then we also have our piano, our percussions. Our percussions is our drums. And then we have the piano. So, but it all from a collective part, it makes beautiful music together. But they all have to be doing it simultaneous. Like they have their role. You have your piece of sheet music. You have your piece of sheet music. You have yours. It has to be a collective, and that beautiful sound comes out with them working together. That's a strong enterprise. That's an enterprise for your audience. That's an enterprise that is going to survive to 2030, to 2045. That's the organization that we will see for many, many decades to come that is going to survive because they've got the lens of we need governance, but we need to separate AI governance. We need our GRC and we need our security practitioners working in alignment with what Amir was saying earlier, which is with every area of the business,
I agree. I'm gonna tell Amir that Jordan also needed Pippen in order to win championships. That's what it sounds like to me. So you can't have one without the other. Jordan couldn't win by himself. He needed Pippen. Even though Jordan is the greatest player of all times, he still needed Pippen and the rest of the team. He needed both. So
you need both.
You need both in order to do it. I 100% agree with that. Amir, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm reminded, you made a reference to classical music. I'm partial to the Baroque era. So,
okay.
Handel, Beethoven, Bach, Tchaikovsky.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And to piggyback on the analogy that Renard is using with NBA, I'm reminded of the different layers within GRC. You've got first line, second line, third line, then you've got these different controls. But I'm trying to picture in 2 years or 3 years, a Fortune 500 business that has a separate chief AI officer. Now, what you're talking about is very cutting edge from a governance perspective. And I love that we're having this conversation. If I think about AI governance from 2 years, 3 years from now in a Fortune 500, what does a black belt practitioner look like at that level?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, you're coming with those questions. I get a chance to answer this question. This is so exciting. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out. So I see a black belt, Fortune 5. They have a very streamlined process of understanding the segregation between the controls that provide oversight to the all AI activities within that enterprise, external and internal. That includes legal, compliance, contracts, right? Development, human resources, all of that. So that AI component blends with the GRC practice of cybersecurity controls. Let's say they're Fortune 5 and SOC and SOX is one of them. So for the most part, they've got a very comprehensive, beautiful layer of AI governance, not that AI governance would sit at the top, but AI governance, security, and controls that sit here under the governance aspect. And then they've got their security, right? And I'm saying security is obviously at the top. So you've got a beautiful, beautiful 3-layer cake. Since we love analogies here, you got a beautiful 3-layer cake that gives the black belt, that black belt concept is saying, okay, this layer is going to do this because they have strategically making certain that the controls that are providing oversight is doing X, Y, and Z. Is there going to be auditing for that first layer? Yes. AI governance auditing is coming to the US and is going to hit many Fortune 500 companies, and then they're going to trickle down and look at their third party and their supply chain. It's coming. So, but you still have that layer that's also tied into the security aspect, because some of even the NIST in the US, and maybe other frameworks that may come out later, but right now the NIST is beautifully layered with the GRC practice of, the GRC stuff, right? The cybersecurity stuff. It's beautifully layered. So there's some overlap. So they don't necessarily have to say, well, we've got 35 controls in our Fortune 500. It's probably way more than that, 135 controls in our Fortune 500 company just specifically for security. How does AI governance fit into that fold, and where do we put that? Well, you layer AI governance into the controls, because if you have a framework, which is NIST AIRMF, which we have right now, you've got ISO 4200. If you're a Fortune 5, you've got other enterprises outside the US. You've got these beautiful layers of controls that are going to complement one another, but you don't necessarily need every single one. We have 135. I can hear a board member say, we don't need another set of 130. No, you don't. But what you can do is tweak the language of those controls so it integrates AI governance and those controls oversights, and you blend it in. So you've got 3 layers, but nobody's going to see the 3-layer because you're just cutting the cake and eating it, right? You're like, it all looks like the same, but you don't know that there's strawberries in there and raspberries in there and cherries, and it's all been blended together. It's a beautiful tasting cake. It's a beautiful cake and it tastes great. No one needs to know that. And every enterprise is going to be different. So our Fortune 500 companies have an opportunity to be the lead in the market, to say, this is how we're going to begin adopting it. We don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but you do have to layer governance in your enterprise, because you have no choice, because regulators are going to be asking for, where is that audit control? Oh, ding. All right. Hey, we just made $1.2 million from X Fortune 500 companies for fines because they didn't pass their audit. Government means to make their money too, guys. They need to make their money too. So fines is the way to do it. So,
I think you're spelling out a market opportunity right now there is going to be some startup, if not already, in existence now, that's going to expand into that layer cake concept that you're just now describing and say, you know, you just use AI to do this auditing for you, because explainability is one of the hardest things to do.
It is. It is.
In governance as well as in AI governance more specifically.
And even if they did that, the aspect of, advisors like us don't go away because of that level of the human layer, right? Advisors aren't going to ever go away, and nor are they going to go away when we have autonomous driving vehicles either, because they still have to test them. So I don't think the human element of anything that we're talking about is going to literally disappear. I think it's just that how are we now? Do you need 5 different people on a contract for a Fortune 500 company? You guys know what I'm talking about, coming in and doing a massive audit and charging you $3.5 million? No, you don't. Now you only need 2 instead of a team of 5. Right? So it does cut down the cost of the oversight to making certain that you have this beautiful metrics, like you said, using AI. But at the end of the day, I've got 2, right, advisors instead of 5. And all they're doing is at this point, because with the use of AI and GRC, right? Using analytics and using AI now they've got a comprehensive, now all we have to do is check and see if you actually have the documentation that you said that you have, and are you following the processes that you said that you had, right? So there's still that you got to have us, the guardrails, right, still in there. But yeah, you're right. It's going to change the landscape. And Amir, on that note, I just heard through the grapevine that Fortune 500 auditing firms are really thinking in the back end about what they're going to look like come 2040 if they survive, because AI is changing the game in auditing space, and AI is changing the game in the advisory space. So, I'm not giving away my secret sauce. I know what we do.
Well, this is a topic that I think we should probably revisit again in a part 2, because we're already an hour in, and I want to be respectful of your time as well as the listeners who invest an hour of their day listening to our show. But I love this part of the conversation. I really want to see if we can maybe bring you back for a later conversation that expands on it. Because I'm thinking of, for example, you brought up automobile a few times. The communication between the different automobile components today, there's software involved, and there's very little security between those different software components. So if you were to hack into a car today, inject malware, you could touch every component or almost every component, throw in AI in the mix, and there's an accident. Now you have the equivalent of a mini black box, which exists today in automobiles, in the modern cars.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build explainability and governance and extract that data in a way that you can understand why the decision, the vehicle, which in the future we know will be mostly autonomous, made in that moment? And then how do you embed those models? And then what size models? And then how do you even push updates over the wire when you've got 7B models taking up several gigabytes? So there's not only an infrastructure tax in the way of throughput, there's also how much information is processed and when, and the timestamp and all that good stuff. So I would love, Renard, at some point, I think we should maybe expand on that conversation. What do you think, sir?
I agree. We got to have her on for a part 2. Got to.
Yeah. So, Dr. KJ, we like to end our show with a lightning round. And this is just, whatever comes first, top of mind for you. So, don't feel like you need to think a detailed answer. Are you game?
I think so.
All right. Well, I'm going to lean on my friend Renard, because we've started this with Renard being the first questioner. So I'm going to ask him one more time to do us the honor.
All right. Well, Dr. KJ, we talked about, of course, AI and AI governance. And, some of the fear that people have had is AI is coming for your job. Is that fear or fuel?
I think it's more fuel. I think we should view it as fuel, not fear.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So what is the most overhyped AI term you think of the year 2026 so far?
What was the what?
What is the most overhyped AI term of 2026?
Of 2026? AI governance is hype. Dude. AI governance frameworks. Not governance, but frameworks. Hype is frameworks. Everyone's talking about framework. Oh, I got a framework. Oh, I built a framework. Oh, I got a framework too. Oh, look at my framework. So frameworks. We're oversaturated. And it's not just on social media. It's other places. And I say in the US because EU is a whole nother ball game. Japan, a whole nother ball game. But in the US, everyone wants frameworks are overhyped. Yeah. And no adoption.
No adoption. I like that. No adoption. That is kind of true. No adoption. I feel like a lot of people are in progress and don't know how to land the plane as of yet.
Well,
So
they need to talk to us. We can help
there you
them with
go.
that.
There you go. There you go. That's
We
the
got
right
lots of
answer.
pilots on our team.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer. So, what book do you make your team read?
Mine.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Had a feeling.
Yep.
Why
And
why yours over any other book?
I don't make them when they come on to Nomad. That's one of the first things that they do on their own. They say, okay, I'm coming onto an organization that is at cutting edge, like you mentioned earlier, Amir, and I want to be a part of that, that team that's, moving the needle around AI governance orchestration because we do the actual work. So they will come on. I've seen people pick up the book and they've got tabs on the book, and they're like, "Oh, I highlighted here." They're using it like a textbook. And again, I'm humbly grateful for that because that means they're learning. They're trying to understand. It's not my book, to answer your question, Renard. It's not a playbook. It's not typical. It doesn't focus on one framework. It doesn't focus on one country. It doesn't focus on one geographic area or region in the United States. It's looking at everything from 1,000-foot view and parsing it down and talking to security practitioners in real time, talking to privacy practitioners in real time, operations teams in real time. So it breaks things down. So it's like, oh, okay, right? It's that 7-layer cake, as I call it. 7-layer, not 3 layers, 7-layer. I must be hungry. So yeah, they're doing it. I don't require that as a requirement to be a part of Nomad. So I'm humbled that that's something that they do on their own.
This is what I'll say, and especially when you talk about the book and how it's layered. If you didn't know, that's how playbooks, in a sense, are
Oh,
layered. It's an offense, it's a defense, it's special teams, etc. I'm breaking down plays for each and every. The QB has his own plays, etc. So in a sense, your book is doing what you're explaining as a layer cake, but also giving a blueprint and a playbook for people who read it to understand from a higher view on how everything is supposed to work. Not just, hey, this is my framework. You're giving everybody in a sense, some good secret sauce on how to look at AI governance in a different way than this one framework. So it's a great playbook. It's a great It's not a great framework. It's a great overall layer cake that you want to have. And I plan on having cake for our first anniversary with me and my wife. So I got to make sure I have the right cake as well. So, definitely I love that your team decides to do that on their own, which I will say I have the book as well, which KJ knows I have the book. And it is a great book as well. I have read it. I'll give you my feedback, and easily it's a awesome book. More people should have that book. So that enough of my spiel on it. Amir, I know you got another quick question, so go ahead.
Y'all are making me hungry. Chicken
We're talking
wings.
about food and cake. and
Three-layer.
wings. Don't forget the wings.
I love chicken wings. I love cake. I mean, I am hungry now too, talking about all this food. So, okay, well, let me ask you a food related question then. All right. So you two are both in the Dallas area. I'm in the Austin area. I think
Mhm.
it's fair to say that Texas is known for barbecue. But I'm going to ask more specifically, Dallas barbecue or Austin area barbecue? Which is better?
I only have one reference, and that's where I'm at, so I can't answer.
Hey, you know, and that's a hard question because there's a spot in Austin that was on the food TV on a food TV show. And and then there's some spots in that are hole in the walls that are here in Dallas, not your typical chains, that are absolutely just like, as they say, make you want to slap your mama. Good. So it's a hard, that's a hard one, man. Amir, man.
I know. I seem to be on a roll here. All right. So maybe I'll taper it down a little. You're in an audit. How many espressos have you had?
During an audit, I would say about 5.
Nice.
5. So I was up basically a full 24 hours. A full straight 24 hours. I never slept.
I'm
Yeah.
fully supportive of 5 shots of espresso.
Y'all coffee drinkers over here.
Yeah, I'm a tea drinker, but that audit caused me to drink coffee. So I had to bump it up a few notches. So yeah. Yeah.
And then we throw in some cake later.
I then throw in some cake. You gotta have some cake. Which, by the way, I can't even eat anyway.
Hey.
I can't eat cake.
I hate to hear that. I do.
That makes me sad.
I know, that makes me a little sad. Oh, man. Okay.
All right.
I'll ask one more since we're talking. Your baby, Nomad, cyber concepts in one word.
One word, not 2.
Yeah, I you know what? I'll give you 3 words. How about that? 3.
I would say Nomad is integrity. I would start there because many of our senior leaders and our advisors come from Big Fours. Integrity is very important to them. Being upfront and transparent. So transparent being the second word. That's important that they are really having and relationship driven. I know that's double word, but relationship driven. And that's our culture. That's the type of people that we bring into our enterprise. So they're those 3 components, I would definitely say that's our team.
I like that. That's a great way to describe culture too.
Your people are your culture, right? They drive that culture. And I know they say it comes from the top and it's leadership. And I'm humbled that way. But I too work for Big Four and work for lots of Fortune 500 companies. So integrity and all that aspect is really important when you're developing relationships with, I don't care if they're Fortune 500 companies. It's relationship driven at the end of the day. And we're not, if we need to step back, take a break and say, hey, we're not going to drive this particular project and dig your pockets, right? If we need to take a pause, let's take a pause. We can take a break, right? We'll come back to this and be transparent with them, as we're working with them. So that's a huge win for us because at the end of the day, people need to trust that they're with an organization that they know that the leadership, my leadership team, are people that they can, go, yeah, they're pretty transparent. They don't they don't pull any punches. They tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I love it. Well, Dr. KJ, before I close out, how do we find you, your company, and most importantly, your book?
Nomad is just Nomad Cyber Concepts with an S.com. That's easy. And it's just spell it out, Nomad, and then cyber, and then concepts.com. And then for me, my LinkedIn is packed. I'm also having someone starting to check my LinkedIn because it's, getting full. But they can definitely reach Nomad Cyber at also info at nomadcyberconcepts.com if they want to talk to us. At info, we, like I mentioned earlier, we do have policies and procedures that have been properly vetted with legal compliance and security practitioners on our team. So they're ready for purchase, and they're templates. You can just grab them, pay a few bucks, and then, keep going and plug in your information in there. Or there's a comprehensive, we call a bundle. So you get a self-assessment, and these particularly for small business owners, for self-assessments. And then for the book, we are on BAM, which is Books A Million. That's the international platform. Barnes and Nobles, and Amazon for Here We Go Again, except it's AI.
I love it. Very easy to find. And with that, I'm going to ask my audience to, if they have value, if they found value in today's conversation, to please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, because if you do that and take 30 seconds out of your day, you'll be helping us and other leaders find this podcast, find this particular episode. And if someone in your life needs to hear this, please take a moment to send it to them. This is how we grow. This is how Renard and I continue the work that we're doing. And on YouTube, hit like and subscribe. Renard, any parting words?
Be a black belt in all things. Be honest, because you're going to need to, especially when it comes to AI. Be a black belt in all things. If people don't understand what that means, that translate continuously improve to get better, grow with AI as much as possible, because like Dr. KJ said, it's still an infant, but it is growing up very, very fast. So best thing to do is continue to learn, continue to grow, no matter if you're young or old. It's going to be around for a long time. So definitely be a black belt.
That message. And with that, dear listeners, I'm going to say we'll see you on the next one.